AM 1450, FM 99.3, KNSI. Welcome to another edition of Taking You Home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate. You can hear it every Thursday and Saturday morning on KNSI. Thursday at 7:23, Saturdays at 7:50. Start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com. Brandon Voigt, good morning, sir.
Brandon Johnson.
Why did I say that? I knew that. It's right there. It's written down. Pardon me. Don't read my lips. Brandon Johnson, how are things?
Very well. How about you, Bob?
Who can argue? I mean, the weather is turning cooler, right? Oh, no, I was going to say interest rates are down, but no, that's not happening. By the way, stay with us because we have lots and lots of things to talk about, making sure that you are able to get to where you want to be in your life. Where would you like to start this morning?
Let's talk about, I understand we have a question or a listener question you have.
All right. From the phone, we purchased our new home contingent on selling our current home. Oh my gosh, this is our situation. We were very fortunate to sell our home almost immediately and things were going smoothly. About 2 weeks prior to closing, we were informed the septic system on our new home needed to be replaced in excess of $25,000. Our understanding was that the seller was responsible for this, but now we are told they are not, and it is negotiable. Moreover, we were told we cannot get out of the sale of our current home. We are completely stuck. Brandon, how can this be?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Wow.
That's really the situation of having to sell a home to buy a new home is very common.
Yes.
And very expected, right? And so part of what's inherent in this question is just the need to understand all the possibilities that could play out and preparing for those possibilities, such as an inspection contingency, a septic system failing, so you're not feeling like this consumer is and they're being stuck. So the need to have an experienced agent to be able to talk through those scenarios and plan for them is being brought to the forefront here.
You know, I'm so glad you said that because that was my first thought as I'm reading through this. It's like, wow, this is all about having a good realtor, isn't it?
Yeah, so what I'm kind of suspecting here is there's two things at play. A lot of times we as agents are just basically trained just to fill out the paperwork.
Right.
And then as things come up and hit us in the face, we react. And so the importance is being able to predict through experience what are the possible scenarios that could throw roadblocks and deal with them as best as possible up front. So in this situation, whenever you're selling a home and contingent on your new purchase, you want to make sure that you know when you get to these milestones where you're not in a position to move forward yet, you're contractually obligated on the sale of your house.
Sure.
And so every time, whether you're doing an inspection on your purchase, you need to cross the checkbox off the septic system, you should have, in retrospect, one way to handle this is have contingency language in the sale of your existing home that it is subject to removing the contingencies on this home of your purchase, so you're protected. That doesn't sound like it happened here.
Okay, so tell me this. If I'm buying this home, and I see that there is a septic system on this home, chances are there's also a well and all that kind of stuff, right? So that would tell me as the potential homeowner, boy, I'd better find out about that. How new is it and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Or wouldn't that conversation come from my realtor?
It should. So what I would be asking right up front is, when is the septic system the borings happening? When's the test occurring?
Sure.
If it fails, is the seller willing, like you could ask, is the seller willing to replace it at their expense if worst case scenario it fails? So you know that up front. The conversation I'd be having with this client is, okay, you're about to sign a contract to sell your home. Once you do that, you're moving forward irregardless. It's two separate transactions. So if it does fail, are you okay with paying for that septic? If not, we need some other language, some safeguards, or we need to negotiate with the seller some of the possible outcomes up front. The nuances get tricky in trying to navigate these two separate transactions and make them come together.
Right.
The buyer on the sale of your house, they're not concerned with the
Not
other
their
transaction
problem.
and vice versa. So it's really that agent's role to fit the puzzle pieces together.
Okay, this is a great illustration of what could happen in a transaction. Is this fairly common when it comes to wells and septic systems and all that kind of stuff?
What I would say is it's not always thought about at the time of drafting the purchase agreement.
Okay.
And so really you need to, a realtor's job is to think of all the possible hiccups that could
Right.
happen
Right.
and have conversations, bring them up with your client up front.
So I would think it would be fairly common from a realtor's perspective that you're just going down the checklist. Oh, we've got a well here. We've got a septic system here. How old is the electrical? I better check on those things.
Yeah, and it gets, again, it really comes back to, in this scenario, experience, because if you're just filling out the paperwork, you're not thinking of these or having the foresight. You know, you bring up septic systems. Another one is, okay, the seller agrees to replace the septic system. So you just say, okay, seller agrees to replace the septic system. Everyone thinks they're great.
Yeah.
Until the seller says, well, I can save $3,000 by putting it right in the front yard or something. You know what I mean? It's all these,
doing it myself.
it's all the specifics that have to get ironed out. And again, those are really one-off scenarios, but that's what leads us to these sorts of situations.
Do discussions ever occur between the home, the guy who's buying the house with the septic system and the owner of that house? Do they ever talk, or is that the discussion just between the realtors of the two parties?
Yeah, no, a lot of times I think it's a good idea. Like, I'll facilitate, let's meet at the property and discuss this together, maybe with the excavator. So because a lot of times you can lose things in translations playing the game of telephone too. So there are scenarios where it's a benefit to get everyone together with the contractor to hammer it out. That's usually can be a good idea in something like this.
Like I said before, this is a perfect illustration of the importance of dealing with a good realtor. How do we deal with you, Brandon Johnson?
VoigtJohnson.com or 320-774-2400.
Folks, taking you home with VoigtJohnson Real Estate every Thursday morning at 7:23, Saturdays as well at 7:50, AM 1450, FM 99.3 KNSI. Start your home search at VoigtJohnson.com.